Chat, here we go. We have Dralii versus Nwpo. Winner qualifies to Salt Mine 3 main event. The biggest 1v1 event that has ever happened in the history of Rocket League. And I think that I can say that easily. I don't think that's even in question. And only one of Nwpo or Dralii are going to make it in without catching a loss along the way. Now, they still could both qualify. This is a double elimination bracket in which the winner of this match will make it in, and then the loser will have another chance in the lower brackets to also qualify. Now, I think there's a good chance that Nwpo and Dralii both make it through. But I bet you that neither one of them wants to be the one who has to do it using their second try. Now, we've seen a lot of Nwpo Dralii actually recently. In fact, I might even pull up the history between them two. If you guys remember a small tournament that we ran called, what was it called? Fear Fest Junior, I think is what you guys made me call it. I don't know. I blame you guys. You guys came up with a bad name. I was forced into it. Strong-armed by chat even. But it had Dralii, Nwpo, Nas, and Moxie. And I think we saw a bracket reset from Nwpo onto Dralii, so 2 straight series wins in order to beat him. But I think he also lost early in the bracket against him. So it was a bunch of back and forth between these two. I think since then, we've seen probably Nwpo with a bit more high-level performances. The exception of right before Gamers 8, he seemed a bit shaky. So what kind of Nwpo do we have? It's hard to say. What kind of Dralii do we have? Well, we obviously have ones that can handle the top-tier competition that are in this qualifier in order to get to this point. And let me give you a brief overview of the players that these guys had to play through in order to get to this position. We'll start with Nwpo, who had to play in the first round Acro. Acro, an English player who's actually been getting into the one scene a little bit and has played well. Has some solid wins, but Nwpo handled him. And then Shoddy. You guys have seen Shoddy on the channel a couple times. That was actually a really close match. We were able to tune into it for a little bit, and Nwpo just barely scraped it out over Shoddy. Then Nwpo able to take down Stizzy, another matchup that is a rising player in the one scene. Stizzy has been playing well. That one went to Nwpo. He is showing why he has been around in the one scene for so long, and that's how he worked his way to his match against Dralii. Thank you, Messy Jesse, for the 2 months of Prime. Now, Dralii's run was equally as tough. He had to play Whiskey Drink. Whiskey Drink is one of the few people who I think I maybe wasn't aware of in the EU scene. The qualifiers for the EU have been very, very stacked, but Whiskey Drink, who came in from the open qualifier, not able to take Dralii down. Then Dralii had Growly, a little Dralii-Growly matchup. Growly looked well in his one matchup against, I forget who he played. He might have played Dark. But then Dralii also had Luis P, and Luis P has been at the top of EU for a long time. But they handled both of them. Nwpo and Dralii found their way back to their comfort spot, which is up at the top of the game, playing against each other. And Dralii able to get himself a 2-1 lead. Now, the other thing with Dralii is he has moved to France. You guys may see the Moroccan flag up there on the overlay. And those of you who know, he has recently moved to France, despite being in Morocco for many years. And he has become a prospect for RLCS teams, and it seems like there is no limits to the teams that are willing to try him out. Historically, players like Dralii in EU usually do get opportunities to play with the best. They are willing to pull people up, especially a French-speaking player like Dralii. There are a ton of opportunities to join some top French teams, so we don't know where we're going to end up with Dralii, but I think we have high hopes for him. Now, on the other side of the field, Nwpo, also in RLCS, has players saying, do we have another Zen? Has the next Zen arrived? And will we see it in the form of Nwpo on the Falcons? To that, I say, I don't think to that same degree. I think we're going to see a ton of great plays from Nwpo, a ton of good performances from the Falcons with him, and even before he was forced out of the RLCS for a year, it looked like he was going to be that guy. But I'm not sure we'll ever see what we saw from Zen again. Oh my goodness, Nwpo able to sneak this in near post. Dralii tried his best on the respawn to cover the distance, but was unable to. And Nwpo has put himself in the lead. Nwpo trying to dive down and chase Dralii into the corner. Fairly low-scoring game is certainly the way these guys like to play. But the improved defense is not going to help in this situation. Dralii is one of the most lethal attackers in the air, and Nwpo's proven it. They want us to skip replays as quick as possible, so we'll maybe skip a couple more replays than we normally would. I feel like that was a pretty saucy fake. But technically, I think the rules that were given to us is that if the players skip, then we're supposed to skip. But that literally not a single goal will ever get watched. I've never seen a player watch a goal. So when you say that, you're essentially just saying you have to skip every replay. So I'm going to use a little bit of my discretion if somebody hits a worldie. I don't think I'm just going to skip it no matter what. Nwpo chain dashing to try and catch up to this play, and he might have just left the net open. No, of course not. That's classic Nwpo. As we talked about, we were watch partying his matchup against Shadi. He loves to recover, and he's done it to himself again. He has to recover one more time. Oh, and I thought he did for a second. Nwpo, it's like he's training himself, and he specifically wants to practice recoveries. So he puts himself as far out of the play as possible to see where he could still get back. This time, he wasn't able to do it. You have to skip. Very long day. That's true. There is a ton of games to play. So in general, you have to do way more skipping than not. Dralii has won a kickoff and now holds the lead with 12 seconds left to go. Wave dash kickoff for Nwpo. Should have him recovered in time to save this one. But with no boost to work with, he has certainly lost this first game. You just cannot make plays happen without boost with 0 seconds. So Dralii, a swing back and forth, eventually goes in his favor. So he takes game number 1 of this best of 5. Game number 2. Dralii and Nwpo. Nwpo out of the Fennec and into the Stocktain. And this is about as pure of a Stocktain as it gets. I guess it's not because it's Alpha Boost Stocktain. But when's the last time we've seen Nwpo in the Octane? I'm not sure if we have. I feel like it's been mostly Fennec out of him recently. But searching for the answer here against Dralii, and it's not going to be the Octane so far. Dralii seeing Nwpo stealing his back corner boost. Thinking about trying to cut in field. Nwpo just plays at such a high speed. Dralii seems willing to play it as well. These are two of the better aerial attackers in the 1v1 game. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that. Nwpo just handed the ball over. So Dralii, first touch in the air, has the reset. Oh my goodness. The fact that Nwpo almost had the save. We saw Nwpo versus Seiko both in the Octane recently. All right, you're just messing with me now. I think we have seen Nwpo. Nwpo in the Octane is not like Seiko in the Octane. I swear we've seen him in it before. If I ever find a semi-recent Octane Seiko game, you guys are going to never hear the end of it. Dralii seems to have way better control over this game. As Nwpo looking a bit lost so far in the Octane. Certainly hasn't lost his spirit, though, in the way he likes to play ones. Which almost feels like he doesn't know what the plan is. And he just figures it out along the way. Dralii getting deep underneath the ball for that resets. Gonna go for the wave dash shot. My goodness, Nwpo. I think his mistake here is waiting so long to challenge on the ball. Dralii has a really tough time getting a good angle for that shot. And if Nwpo's even grounded, I mean, it's tough to say. Dralii did such a good job of threatening the whole way. But I do think the setup of the dribble was not as good as it could have been. And there were moments to maybe intercept earlier. 3-0 for Dralii. The reset pop over the top of Nwpo. No double available. So Nwpo did enough. He may not have connected. Forced Dralii not to score. That's the point of defense. Dralii possession play into the blue half. Nwpo not able to fully close the gap. Air dribble shot from Dralii this time. Leaves a lot to be desired, and Nwpo gets on the board, but I don't think he can continue to just rely on mistakes from Dralii to be the only way he finds offense. Forces this kickoff underneath. Knowing Nwpo, he certainly should be able to find the angle, but he actually goes slightly wide before he gets the opposite corner boost steal. Midfield as well. Dralii staying directly on top of the ball despite being completely starved out of boost. Nwpo cannot seem to punish for it. Did not turn in field to demo Dralii, even though it felt like Dralii was going to be a bit of an easy target, but Nwpo had a different plan. He knew Dralii had to go grab boost. No choice but to grab 100, it felt, and knew he could beat the ball, or beat him to the net with the ball. Nwpo, what a great first touch. That is an impossible first touch from Nwpo. We're not going to be able to watch the replay, but Dralii just booms the ball to the side wall. Oh my goodness. Corelli's watching it too, thank goodness, because that was just a filthy setup. And that's the kind of creativity that you get out of Nwpo. You'll never see him start a dribble with a plan because he never has a plan. He just knows how to convert any situation into what he wants. Dralii, that's a low 50 that looks very favorable. No recovery from Nwpo. And a 4-3 lead with 1:30. Nwpo, great roll through on the flick to get the ball high off the kickoff, forcing Dralii in the air, and then the follow-up is converted. Did the NA close qualifier start? It probably hasn't yet. I think it starts in a bit. But while the lower bracket is still finishing out on this qualifier, I think it will have started. Nwpo hook shot on a long shot. Trying to... Oh my goodness! What? Did he get Dralii to own goal? How did this go in? I don't understand. What kind of post bounce was this? What? What? Unreal shot. And a 5-4 lead for Nwpo. He wants to get a little bit more. Dralii's going to be able to guide this kickoff out of dangerous way. Nwpo going for the ground double. Can't find it. Dralii's missing the ball in net though. Nwpo rushing back to the ball, but then peeling off for the soft touch. He's rushing to get Dralii to stay grounded and feel like he was completely beat. And if he feels completely beat, he will not contest. And then Nwpo then needs a soft touch in order to control it and not just hand the ball right back to Dralii. Kind of minutia that Nwpo does to perfection at all the time. Now it's Dralii with 18 seconds. Trying to bring this one back. That's way too much of a flick, especially considering how little boost he has. He's not going to be able to recover. And he basically passed it to Nwpo to get himself scored on. So 10 seconds left to go. Looking like a tied series from Nwpo. Dralii, is he trying to own goal here late or go for a crazy psycho? Seemed like a crazy psycho. Nwpo, look at how he does it with ease. Any position. The Stocktain works. Nwpo ties the series. Game number 3. Dralii into the BDS Fennec. Is he trying to give leaks to the community. Nwpo in a different octane this time around. Will we see the shift tweet later about the fact that Dralii is playing in a BDS car? We saw Nwpo using the Falcon's goal explosion. That turned out to be true. Therefore, we must assume that all in-game item use is a revealing of a roster move. Crazy how this game win has changed the momentum. All of a sudden, it looks like Dralii's the one who's lost in search of an answer, which is what it looked like for Nwpo at the start of game 2, though, so he was able to turn it around. Lots of time. Nwpo did not tip that towards the net like he meant to. Instead, he allowed Dralii to get a long shot. But in Nwpo's never-ending quest to see how many times he can force himself to recover, he was able to successfully do so. Now he's in and out of the net for a great long shot. Sent that one high off the backboard and flew out of the net. You can see a couple different Nwpo is so fast. Nwpo is the fastest Rocket League player for good reason. People are saying that, and he's going to prove it again just by being a step quicker here on the near post. Double off the backboard. He's got himself a 4-0 lead. Make it not quite 5-0 as his kickoff goal goes wide. But look at these setups. Everyone else wants to roll the ball up the wall, chip it with their car. That's too slow for Nwpo. He just wants to get the ball going, and whatever the fastest way to do so is. And a lot of that has to do with chipping it directly at that corner and just having a perfect angle setup that he seems to be able to get like it's second nature. Bruh, he's speeding. Give this man a ticket. Right now, a 5-0 lead. I have a feeling we won't see Dralii in the same car again if this one continues the same way. I think he's always been one to switch it up. Here, though, he just had really no purpose with his dribble. Nwpo sees that. Eats it up on the landing. Shouldn't be surprised to see Nwpo diving on the ball, though. You can get him beat with these early flicks. The problem is he almost likes to get early flicked. Can I go next? I have admin. I bet they wouldn't mind, but I don't know if it's in the rules. Can we get a live ruling? If an admin is in the chat and wants to say that Dralii's allowed to go next, it would be useful to know. I'm guessing that they wouldn't mind, but I don't remember reading anything about them being allowed to forfeit in this stage. Knowing Johnny and having watched Johnny's streams, he does not mind a forfeit in this situation, but you are an admin, it's okay. I don't know. I think you might be lying, chat. Here, let me see. Let me see if I can get contact of an admin. Wait, I might have a message from Johnny. Here, I think I have Dralii, or I think I have Johnny on Discord. So we'll see what he says. Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna do it. Well, Johnny's typing right now. Just hit enter. Yeah, okay. Just needed our boy to hit enter. All right. Nwpo up 2-0. Game number 4. A new car for Dralii, as I expected. A 1,500 point in only half the game played. Yeah, I think a couple of those were after, garbage time when Dralii had already decided to forfeit that game. But it's not often you see somebody go completely scoreless in a high-level match like this one, even if the forfeit came early. We have to assume that Dralii probably could have found a goal eventually if he could have mentally stayed in it, but he had certainly been beat But now he's got himself a new chance. And every turn of that clock can lead to a brand new dynamic between these players. I've seen it a million times. But you won't necessarily see a new one. By all means, we could be in store for another Nwpo runaway. He's up 1-0, and this bump certainly not going to help the tilts. Dralii has to do his best to not let his salt be mined. Thank you for the raid, Mr. Young Star. W raid indeed. Dralii flicking top right. He's on the board. A goal he's been looking for many minutes. And it comes before the game gets out of hand. Nwpo forced that 50 to stay right around the blue half. He is just all on the ball all day long. And this is why Nwpo games can get out of hand when he's playing well. You didn't think Nwpo was going to be there? He is. He's always going to be there. Nwpo even first ball off this kickoff. Dralii beat him for what feels like the first time in a while, but at the cost of his life. And now it's Nwpo with space, taken to the skies. Could not seem to decide what he wanted to do on this dribble. Felt like he was caught between, or maybe I was just deciding for him, caught between a potential air dribble into a bump, or whether or not he was just going to play it high. Looks like he went for a maybe double, but Dralii had that covered. Now, within one. Why there's so many DQs? DQs are just people dropping out. Either that's because they didn't show up to start the day, or oftentimes in the losers bracket, a lot of people will not have it in them to try and win as many games as they have to, so they may drop out. Nwpo. It is his mission to bring the ball to the net in the fastest possible way. The ball doesn't need to cross the goal line at the highest speed. That's not the goal. The goal is to get the ball to the goal as soon as possible. Defenders often find themselves in the wrong place. Nwpo ground dribble, or ground double, I should say. Keeps possession. This game has continued to be clearly his, despite Dralii putting a couple points on the board. Oh, look at the camera movement from Nwpo! You can see it from his perspective, checking where Dralii's at. Dralii has to watch the full field dribble before Nwpo slots it into the bottom right. Dralii has to throw the nice one too. Unbelievable, the level we're seeing from Nwpo right now. I'm sure a couple people had some question marks from him. From, I believe it was the Chalk Cast Duels, right when he joined the Falcons. Wasn't looking like the player we're used to seeing in ones. Still a top player, but certainly not the performance he would have wanted. He has proven so far in this series that he is more than back, but he has to continue to hold on. The camera movement is not intentional. It happens when you get the reset and have ball cam off. Oh, interesting. I thought he was like looking to see Dralii, which would have been even more impressive. I mean, I get flip resets all the time. So I know about how when I get my resets and the camera changes, it's just, I was testing you guys and you passed. And you also must get flip resets like me. I get them all the time. Nwpo. Zero boost left. He's going to take a big swing into the corner and rush his way back to the ball. Dralii chips it to keep it away from him. But he is playing way too slow, and how he didn't recognize that that was going to be troublesome, I don't know, because Nwpo is playing at max speed all the time. You cannot slow down. Nwpo will just scoop up the ball and use that supersonic speed to take the ball to your net. Fear the guy lied to you? I could believe that. Nwpo gonna make it 7-3. Dralii, I mean, that's a car not moving. which is always a bad sign late in these games. But he has really no choice. I'd say with 1:48 left to go, you got to power through. Dralii forced into a second reset, I feel like, from the challenge. Pretty sure he got the first reset, but then stayed behind the ball in order to protect it. Got a second one and used that to tap the ball over the top of Nwpo. That is the kind of goal-scoring play that might inspire some confidence back in yourself as well, for what has to be a very daunting comeback mentally. Nwpo, though, he will give you opportunities. You know, when he plays absurdly fast, there's a reason why you don't see every player in the world doing this, and that's because situations like that happen more often than not if your name is not Nwpo, where you just go flying past the ball and you allow the opposition to have the easiest net they're going to get all game. Dralii, though, he can score tough nets as well. Nwpo forcing it into the crossbar, attacking the other way, no reset at all, as he just brings it down to the ground just outside the back wall of Dralii. Bumped now. Dralii with 23 boost. Just has to double jump to avoid the demo. Right now, he is just searching to keep control of the ball. Not looking like he's planning on any sort of offense anytime soon. And now he's demoed. Dralii picks up the midfield 100. Nwpo into the air. Really interesting start to the dribble. Doesn't really matter what the end result is as long as it's not giving the ball for free to Dralii. I would say this is caught right in between. Nwpo just turning infield at every moment he can. Seemed like Dralii might have a possession. A time when lots of other players would turn around, try and play passive with their 2-goal lead, but not this guy. He's going to turn and dive immediately. 5 seconds left to go. It would be a miracle pinch and a kickoff, but it won't happen. So Nwpo will be the first, as far as I know, official player to be in the salt mine. At least that's announced. Nwpo joins the main event. Dralii still can make it. He has a second chance in the lower bracket. But congratulations to the Falcons player.